Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome in to 2024. I wanted to start off the year with a little reflection on the past 12 months in my own life. Thoughts on 2023. So I thought, what better way to start off the year than to actually do that here right now on the podcast? I actually, by the end of 2023, by the time New Year's Eve rolled around, I was quite surprised when I thought about it of how much I actually achieved, done, completed in 2023. And usually by the end of the year, by the time I get around to New Year's Eve of any year, I always think to myself, what have I done this year? You know? And one of those, those moments where you think you haven't really done a lot, and you think to yourself, well, that was a waste of a year, or, I could have done so much more type of thought process. But this time around was a lot different. I didn't actually have that thought. My thought was actually the opposite of that. It was more of a, wow, I actually did a lot this year. Go figure. I did not think that was going to be a thing for me. Normally, I wouldn't really be doing a lot, and I'd be just going through my daily life, working, coming home, doing the usual personal stuff at home, doing the hockey and all that sort of stuff. But this time, 2023 for me was actually a pretty good year. I did have my ups and downs. I really did. There were quite a lot of things that happened in my life during the year, but I suppose I learned a lot from it. So we're gonna start off. So I'm actually gonna. I'm not gonna try and remember off the top of my head, although I'm gonna do my best. However, I am going to also rely on my Google Calendar, or if we'd like to go the Lachlan way, the Goog Cal, in terms of shortening it. I don't know if that's going to pick up or trend in any way. So this time last year, so January of 2023, I was pretty much, okay, so I started off the year going cherry picking with my friends because that was a traditional thing that my friends and I do every year around the Christmas New Year period. We go out, we do a day of out in the cherry orchards, and we pick cherries together, and we hang around at the orchard. They have like a little sort of a outdoor setup with a couple of food trucks. They've got their own store where you can go in and get cherry ice cream, or, cherry flavored alcohols, or cherry flavored other beverages. They have all sorts of merch that they sell at the orchard, and it's a really big place around that time of year because, cherries are seasonal. They always come out during the summertime. I say they come out. Cherries bloom and grow in the summer. They are ready to pick in the summer is what I'm trying to say. And that's what me and my friends usually do. It's kind of like a traditional thing we've been doing for many, many years now. And then after we have our day, cherry filled, we then go back to one of our houses, whoever's hosting for that particular year. And we do a little, we have dinner, we do our Christmas present exchange with each other, and we watch a Christmas movie or two, depending on how we're feeling, if we're not too tired from the day. And that's usually what we always do, and we did that last year, and that was a lot of fun. So that's kind of like, it was a nice way to start off the year. At the same time in January, I was also in the middle of getting prepared for for the Midsummer Festival, which is an LGBTQ plus theatrical or kind of arts time of year where there's like performances, there's exhibitions, there's a carnival where everybody goes out to have fun and just a really inclusive and safe sort of space for everybody to do, have fun, dance, drink, have a picnic and all that sort of stuff, and, go to theater shows and all that sort of stuff that are sort of themed around the LGBTQ plus community or just anything like that, which is also a lot of fun. And so I was sort of in the preparation as a stage manager for that show for it to go on stage that month. So the performances were actually going to start in the middle of that particular month. So we were in the middle of doing our final rehearsals at the venue. So that was a good experience. And at the same time, so January is always a very busy month for me, specifically because not only was I helping out with being a stage manager for a theatre show, I was also working at the Australian Open. So I have been contracted with Tennis Australia to then be part of what they call the Genius Crew, which is, and my role in the Genius Crew is I am a remote camera operator. So I'm a camera operator that's not actually manning the camera itself. I am away from the camera, remote controlling it in another building, which I know sounds really, really bizarre, but it is a thing. I didn't even know this myself until I actually got this role. So I was very, very excited to learn about this side of media and broadcasting. And it's all live broadcast all over the world, and Australia, especially here on Australian broadcast television live. So I needed to make sure that I was, always on the punch, ready to go, listening to my director. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm basically operating a camera and I am following the tennis players during play. If the director allows it, or if they want me to be a bit more fancy, then I can be. But other than that, I am essentially just following the tennis players during their games. And if the director asks for a close-up, I do a close-up. If the director asks for a long shot, I'll do a long shot. If they want something a little fancy, like follow the ball as it goes up for a serve, then I'll try to do that as best as I can. Sometimes they'll ask for, to keep an eye out for really good plays so that they can grab a replay moment so that they can then add that in during the broadcast. And this is all done live, by the way, so we have to be on the ball, pun intended. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's really it's a little bit stressful because it's all live, but at the same time it's also quite exciting and fun, and I really enjoyed doing that for the time that I was able to work with them. So obviously because because tennis is seasonal, and because this was a big major event, the Australian Open only happens once a year at the beginning of the year, and it sort of kind of starts off all of the major tournaments that happen throughout the year around the world. And so I felt very, very lucky to be able to be part of that whole experience, be part of the event, and to say that I was able to see a lot of world-class tennis players, do their thing, play their games, and be pros at it. And I got to capture all of those moments. And that part is always exciting for me as well. So January, because of the Australian Open, was very busy. So not only was I working as a stage manager, I was working as the remote camera operator at the Australian Open. But on top of all of that, I'm also working my regular retail job. Which, by the way, during January, I kind of had to take some time off so that I can accommodate the Australian Open gig. And they were okay with it because I was using my own annual leave for that. So that's up to me whether I want to do that or not. Like my current workplace, they're very flexible, and I really love that about my workplace. And it gave me the opportunity to work with Tennis Australia at the Australian Open, to be able to do more of the stuff that I actually love doing. So I was very, very happy with that. It was a very tiring month. So by the time the Australian Open actually finished and it all concluded, or at least until my shifts concluded, because I wasn't there for the whole duration of the event. I was only there for certain days. But once all of my shifts ended, and the show was completed, that was my time to be like, I can relax now. But I still have to go to work. But at least that was the only thing I had to worry about, is just go to work. But that's also around the time. So by the time January ends, is when schools open up for the year here in Australia. So for those of you who don't know, our summer holiday break is over the Christmas period. So we go on break a few days before Christmas Day, and then the break will go, the holiday goes until the end of January, essentially. And the schools, so primary schools, high schools, universities, they all reopen for the year by the end of January. Universities actually start sort of mid-February to late February, whereas primary schools and high schools will start late January. So we actually only have, I think it's like about a 6 or 7 week summer holiday, summer vacation, if you will. And so that's what happens during that time of year. And that's why January is essentially the busiest time of year, because everybody's out doing their holiday thing with their kids and their, the families and all that sort of stuff. And that's why Australian Open always happens in January, because it's still the holiday break. It's still the summer break. And so January is always busy, especially with tourists, because that's also the time that a lot of tourists come to Australia. And so by the end of that month, I'm like knackered. I am tired. Done. But I was glad that I always love the experience of actually working at the Australian Open. I have worked at the Australian Open before, but not with Tennis Australia, but as a security guard. So I have worked at the event before, just this time it was a different role. But I'm happy to say that I will be back at the Australian Open this year in the same role. So I'm very excited for that. Very looking forward to working at the Australian Open again. What else happened? All right, so January's done. We move into February, which it's a little bit less busy. That's also the time where I got my tattoo. I got it was more of an impromptu tattoo, actually. I found this tattoo artist on Instagram, and they're a Korean tattoo artist, and they were coming down to Australia. They were coming down to Melbourne, and I thought, yeah, you know what? Their designs look really, really cute, and they're like very sort of, cutesy, cartoony sort of style. They do a lot of They do a lot of Studio Ghibli designs, which I really liked, and I was really looking at getting a Totoro a Totoro tattoo for quite some time, and finding this particular artist on Instagram sort of cemented it. So I emailed them to say, hey, I hear you're coming down. Would I be able to book in? And they had a slot for me. So I went in February the 13th, and ended up getting my little Totoro tattoo. And if you'd like to see a photo of that, I can post it for you. So please let me know. And I got it on my right wrist, on the inside of my wrist. And it's really cute, and I really like it. It's got a couple of little soot sprites, around Totoro. Totoro is also holding his leaf, which is really cute too. And I also got them to add in the word Totoro in katakana, which is one of the Japanese alphabets, just over the top of him. And the design's just, it's really small, but it's cute. And it's also an art that, like a style that I've never really seen before. So there's no real outline to this. So if like I said, if you'd like a photo of it, please let me know. There's no real outline to Totoro. So it's basically just the fill-in. So they obviously did the outline of the tattoo for just for filling in purposes, but they used the same color that they were going to use to fill it in with, to outline. It's just like, it's really cool. It's very cute, and it stands out. I really like it. So that was a highlight of my February, we'll say. I did also see a couple of movies. Now, I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I think that's when it was out, around that time. Loved Puss in Boots. Such a good movie. Also around that time, I went to see Ant-Man Quantumania. Everybody has their thoughts about Ant-Man Quantumania. So do I. But I still enjoyed it. So that was one of the couple of the movies that I watched in February. February wasn't really that busy. But it was also, February for me was more of a, I just need to buckle down and save up as much money as I can, because in March I traveled over to Canada. I did not think this would ever happen for me. So in March, so mid-March, so halfway through March, I was, I won't say lucky enough, but it's just more of because I paid for this trip. I wasn't chosen. I chose myself to go. But the reason why I went to Canada was because I got to be part of the Kaha World Cup, which is a recreational hockey tournament that is held in Canada every 4 years. Now, unfortunately, I'm not very good at storytelling. Let me start again. So the Kaha World Cup was supposed to be held in 2020. But you all know what happened in 2020. So they had to cancel it. Not really cancel, they postponed it. They postponed it for 2021. They couldn't do it in 21, so they postponed it again in 2022. And they still couldn't do it, so they postponed it one more time to 2023. And what happened was, Australia wasn't originally part of this tournament when it was happening every 4 years. This time around, somehow Australia got invited to go up to Canada to play in the Kaha World Cup. And my goodness, was I blown away by like right now thinking about it. I originally was like, do I go? Do I not go? This is going to cost a lot of money, but it's Canada and Canada's beautiful. So I'd heard, and I'd always wanted to go to Canada because I've seen so many wonderful pictures and videos of the country. And, you know, it was kind of like one of those bucket list moments of, you know, the bucket list of travel for me, where Canada was kind of up there in terms of places that I wanted to visit. And this was my opportunity. And I think I actually did a last minute decision of saying, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. Let me pop my deposit in and sign up for this tournament. And good thing that I did, because they were rounding up the teams already. They were already creating the teams. And I was lucky enough, because I mentioned the fact that I wanted to be in the same team as my best friend, because my best friend was going as well. They managed to put me into the same team as my best friend, which I was very happy with. And yeah, I ended up going to Canada in mid-March. So we flew out as a team. So 4 teams representing Australia flew out. Most of us went on the same day. But then there were also a few others who either traveled earlier or they traveled separately, so they didn't have to, so that they paid for their own flights. Whereas I decided to just, go with the whole flights and accommodation and tournament package. So that made it easier for me, rather than having to find my own flights in some way. The flight over to Canada, man, that was a full flight. So we had 2 planes that we had to catch. So we had our Melbourne to Sydney flight, and that was the domestic flight to begin with. And then from Sydney, we flew to Vancouver on Air Canada. And my goodness, both those flights were so full. I had never felt so smushed in a plane in my life. I got to sit with one of my hockey mates. And it was such a full flight. There was a whole thing about the seating arrangements that, you needed to check in with the person that you wanted to sit with and all that sort of stuff. My best friend ended up checking in separately from me and my other hockey mate. So she ended up sitting with her mum instead when we traveled over as a big group. Group traveling is not fun, especially with the amount of people that we went as, because there was a lot of us. Kind of wish I went on a separate flight, but no regrets, but it's fine. we still managed to get over there. And it was, by the time once we got to Vancouver, we ended up getting we got a transfer. We got a transfer from the airport to our hotel in Richmond, BC. And it was a really nice hotel as well. It was actually one of the ones, I can't remember the name of it, but it was connected to a casino as well. It was really nice. It was a really nice hotel. They had a pool, obviously a casino, place to eat, kind of like a food court sort of a situation. But they also had restaurants as well if you wanted to go to the restaurants or, into if you wanted to do there, if you paid for like breakfast or whatever it was. So yeah, there was that. So Canada got to Richmond because that's where the tournament was being held, and yeah, it was freezing. I didn't think that March would still be, really cold for Canada. Bit of a temperature shock for me and for a lot of other Aussies as well. Glad I rugged up and we had our hoodies, we had our beanies and our scarves. I was ready. I had everything ready to go because I knew that it was going to be cold. I just wasn't sure how cold. And then, walking out of the airport sort of confirmed it for me. Canada, man, I don't know how you Canadians do it. It's freezing. But yeah. So we got our transfer over to the hotel. And then we did a whole big group shot out in front of the hotel as Team Australia. And that same day we had, I think we had a training session that same day. But I was so tired, and this was my first time feeling jet lagged ever. I was so jet lagged that I told my best friend, I'm like, I do not have the energy to go anywhere right now. I need to have a nap. I need to sleep. my best friend was like, yeah, that's cool. No worries. We'll let him know that you're not, feeling up to it. Which it wasn't really compulsory that we had to go to the training, but it was recommended that you go. You didn't have to. But I had never felt so tired from a plane trip in my life. Just the fact that I didn't really get much sleep on the plane as it was because of how full the plane was. We weren't very comfortable. We were all squashed in like sardines in a can. And I was knackered. We got to our hotel rooms. It took a little while to get our hotel rooms in the first place. So by the time we got in there, we had maybe like a couple of hours to settle in, to get ready to go out. And my body was done. I was like, I can't do this. I am too tired. Go without me. And my best friend and her mum, they both went. And I was actually happy to be able to just relax and sleep for a couple of hours because I really needed it. But yeah, no, the whole Canada trip, it was great. The tournament itself, I had a lot of fun. I learnt a lot from the Canadians. They are very fast, very skilled, but they're also very nice. To the point where the teams that we ended up playing against were all Canadian teams, and obviously they would have been playing together for a very long time. Our teams were all put together from various other teams put into one. So this was like the first time that we were all playing together. We tried to have practice sessions before flying over to Canada, but we didn't really get many sessions beforehand. So we didn't really have much like time to bond and to get to know each other in terms of our skills and, where we're going to be and all that sort of stuff. And learning names was another thing that we had to try and remember. But yeah, playing against Canadian teams taught me that I need to be aware of where I need to be, where I need to be. I need to be aware of where the puck is when I'm out on the ice. And it made me also aware of the fact that I needed to speed up. Like, not just a little bit. I needed to speed up a lot. Playing against these Canadian teams meant that speed was definitely something that we needed to increase against them, because if we couldn't beat them by skill, we needed to beat them with fast skating. So for that whole tournament, even though we lost every game by a mile, I still had a lot of fun, and I managed to actually like speed up on my skating. So by the time I came back to Australia and played in, like, because I do beer league, I play in beer league competitions here in Melbourne, and I realized how fast my skating became when I got back, which was crazy to me, and it was nuts. But yeah, so moving on from the tournament. The tournament was fun. We got to mingle with all of the other teams that were there as well from other countries. And during the opening ceremony, we had the opening ceremony. The opening ceremony for me felt like I was part of a Winter Olympic team, because we got to walk down the streets of Richmond. We got to walk down the streets of Richmond with our teams in our team colours down the streets, and there were people there cheering us on, waving at us, and it was like we were in a parade. And I don't know, that feeling is never going to go away from me. It was just so surreal, and I couldn't believe it. It was a very emotional experience for me, because I never thought that I would ever travel for a sport, let alone be in this parade sort of situation where we got to walk down the streets as a team. It was amazing. I was so happy in that moment. I don't know whether I'll ever experience that happiness again. But yeah, that was so good. Anyways, moving on from the tournament, I actually ended up, once the tournament was over, a lot of people the next day flew back home because that's all the time that they could afford to be away. I was able to give myself a bit more time to spend in Canada. So I thought, you know what, while I'm here, while I'm in the country, I'm just going to do a little bit more travel. And I'm going to travel, and see the places that I've been hearing about from a lot of my internet friends. I want to meet my internet friends that live in Canada. And so I did that. And I was really happy to be able to do that. To be able to take the time to travel around Canada and just take in the sights and experience the weather. Can't believe I saw so much snow. I think I saw snow that'll last me quite some time. I was happy to see the snow. I just wasn't expecting to see so much of it in late March and to early April. So after the tournament ended, I had another 2 more weeks, or 2.5 weeks, I think. Yeah, it's about 2-ish weeks to sort of travel around. So my first stop was Edmonton. I got to meet up with some friends in Edmonton. Shout out to Sean Capri, Marcus O'Neill. Thank you so much for catching up with me there. We had a lot of fun. We caught up. We had dinner. We went to arcades. It was great. But Edmonton, as much as I loved being there was only one place that I was able to visit, that I was able to see, and that was the West Edmonton Mall, which is the largest mall in North America, 3rd largest in the world apparently. And yeah, it's big. And I was in Edmonton for, I think, 2 to 3 days, I think it was. I was there for about 3 days. Yeah, not like I saw that mall all 3 days. It was a great mall. Like every time I went back, I would go back into the places that I didn't go into, like some of the stores and stuff. But then there was also, I didn't actually go into the theme park section, which had all the roller coasters and rides and stuff, because I knew that was going to cost extra to go in there. So I'm not going to bother. We have all that sort of stuff here in Australia anyway, so it's fine. But then I saw that they also have a wave pool in there, which I suppose makes sense. That means that, everybody can go swimming any time of the year because it's indoors, it's heated. Why not? But I was, just sort of watching from the windows just to see what it was all about. It was crowded in March. It was crowded. There was a lot of people in there. But there were so many amazing shops that I didn't think I don't think I'll ever come across here in Australia. And then there were food courts. There were more than one food court. There was like 2 or 3 of them in that mall. And each one had their own food stand or whatever. So every time I went back to when I was there to eat, I was like, all right, let me pick something different every time. And I wanted to just try out the different ones that I've been hearing about. Like I think I had A&W. I think I tried McDonald's there. And I think I also had Burger King, maybe. I can't remember half the things that I ate there. But Edmonton, literally mainly known for that big giant mall. Safe to say, unless you're there to see people, like I was. I also got to meet up with Alex. Oh my gosh, how could I forget about Alex? Alex, I love you, girl. So I met up with people. You really only need to spend like maybe a day or two. You really don't need to spend any more time there unless there's places that you want to go to that I didn't get a chance to do. But yeah. Anyway, that was Edmonton. Then I took a bus down to Calgary, and Calgary was great. I was there for a couple of days. Went to the Calgary Zoo, walked around the zoo for a day. I also walked around the main city, which is where I stayed. I stayed downtown, and kind of similar there to Edmonton, but maybe a little bit more to do. It's not a lot though. But it was fine. I still enjoyed my time in Calgary. Calgary was a nice place. I'm just a little bit annoyed at myself that I didn't go to these cities at times when NHL games are running, because then I could have gone to NHL games at that time as well. My timing was just really off with the way that I ended up traveling around. So from Calgary, I then flew over to Montreal via Toronto, and got to Montreal, and the greetings at the airport. I literally just, the first thing that the staff at the airport were pretty much would say to me was like, bonjour, hello, bonjour, hello. And I'm like, you say both at the same time? That was a bit of a shock for me as well, because Montreal, mostly French speaking city. And I was lucky that I was staying with a friend. Hello, Pat. They let me stay at their place, which I was very grateful for. And Pat showed me around his hometown of Montreal, and I got to see a lot. I got to eat a lot of food, very delicious food. Oh my goodness, I want to go back just for the food. But I'm glad I had Pat with me, because if I didn't, I don't think I would have been able to get her. I mean, let's be honest here. I probably would have been fine if I was on my own. I probably would have been fine. But I was feeling a lot better to have someone who actually knew the place, that knew the city, and knew places to visit that I wouldn't have known about. Like, we went to this place that sells poutine with all sorts of different toppings, and it was like it was one of the most luxurious poutine restaurants I've ever been to. And it was great. It was so nice. I couldn't believe the types of toppings. It's essentially just chips, and then you just put on whatever you want on top with sauce or gravy. Man. But that particular place was just very popular for its poutine, and I was all for it. I was like, yes, let's eat it. Let's try. Pat showed me around to the different cafes and the bakeries. Oh my goodness, the pastries. Oh, I just wanted to try everything, but I just couldn't fit it all in. But yeah, no, Montreal is great for their food culture. Their food culture is great, and I really loved it. So, it's definitely a place I'd like to visit again. Just to go and see Pat again, and to see anyone else who lives out that way, and just enjoy more French Canadian food. And then from Montreal, I went down to Toronto, which is the place that I spent most of my time. I spent a week in Toronto. And for that whole week, I decided I had to give myself things to do. But at the same time, I also got to meet up with more internet friends who had organized a meetup, for dinner, and then we played some games at the arcade, and it was so good. It was so much fun, and it was just nice to be able to hang out with the people I've been talking to for 3 years. I've been talking to a lot of them for the last 2-3 years, and they all a lot of them showed up, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And then just for the rest of the week was just traveling around, doing all sorts of different things, walking around downtown Toronto, going to the aquarium, going out to see the Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, which I believe is the better side, because I saw the falls from what the American side one looked like, and I was like, nah, the Canadian one's better. I made my decision as soon as I saw it. I was like, yeah, no, the Canadian side's much better. It was there. It almost felt like it was like a Las Vegas strip when we were there. Once you saw the falls, there was this strip of restaurants and museums and all sorts of different things. The first thing that caught my eye was, so I ended up going into Burger King first to eat lunch. So I had my lunch at Burger King, and then from there I walked across the road into Ripley's Believe It or Not, and oh my gosh, I was so excited that I saw that, because I used to love watching that show when I was growing up. It was one of my favorite things to watch. It was you'd see all the weirdest things, the quirkiest things, the funniest things. And walking through that museum, I picked everything out and I saw all these things. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing something about that on the show. And, and then because it was also somewhat interactive as well, it was so great. And yeah, I spent most of whatever time I had left there, because I was there with a tour group in Ripley's, and then I came out, and I'm glad I went in there. If you're ever at Niagara Falls, go to Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, please. It just, what else did I do in Toronto? It's just got to meet up with my mods, my Twitch mods, my Discord mods, just my great friends. They're now my really good friends, very close friends, and I got to meet up with them in Toronto as well. And we got to do things together. We got to go out tree climbing. I did a high ropes course where there was still snow everywhere with my mods, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and very tiring though, must say, very tiring. Oh my goodness, I've been talking for like the last half an hour about Canada, gushing over Canada, but that's I would say this trip was my highlight of 2023. Being able to travel over to Canada and just seeing everything and everyone there, and being able to play ice hockey in Canada, that just took the cake. The fact that I got to play the national sport in the mother country, I was very, very, very stoked about it all. So Canada was a big highlight for me in 2023. And I spent Easter there as well. So I had a good time. So I came back to Australia after my Canada trip. And actually, by towards the end of my Canada trip, actually, I was getting quite homesick. And I think I was getting to a point where I was like, I think I'm done with, traveling around with just a suitcase full of things that I can, pick, that I was limited in choosing in terms of things to wear, and just lugging around a suitcase. And it it got to that point. Just because it's not, because I'm moving from place to place, and I didn't have my usual wardrobe. I didn't have my usual, stuff with me. So I got a little homesick towards the end of it, but I still had a great time. I will never regret that trip. It was great. I loved it. Got back to Australia, and I think during that time I was just sort of instantly trying to find a way to move out. So for about a month and a half, I was property searching for a place to move out to, which unfortunately didn't work out, just because of prices and of course my own sort of financial situation. I wasn't able to afford to be able to afford a lot of the properties that were asking for, like the cost they were asking for in terms of the rent. So skipping ahead to June. June is when I got to see Jo Koy. So Jo Koy did his world tour, and the start of June he was here in Melbourne, and I got to see him, and it was really fun. He's a hilarious comedian. I highly recommend watching his Netflix specials if you haven't already. Definitely a very, very funny, kind of crude though, so just warning you now. But really funny. He's a really funny comedian. And then the following weekend after Jo Koy, I got to see Voyager. So Voyager represented Australia in Eurovision 2023, so Eurovision Song Contest. And they were in the top 10 in the finals, and very proud of them. me and a group of friends, we went out to see Voyager perform. And I never thought that I'd be into that kind of music, because Voyager's a metal band, but they're not your traditional metal sort of music. They're called progressive metal, and their music really, I sort of, it pricked my ears, because it was kind of poppy, but it was very sort of, there was a lot of 80s synth in it as well. I mean, the lead singer uses a keytar, for crying out loud. And it's amazing, and their music is really great. I definitely would recommend you go out and listen to Voyager. Some of their songs are really awesome. Promise by Voyager is the song that they sang at Eurovision. So if you want to hear the song that got them into the top 10 of the grand final, Promise, that is the song to listen to. It's really good. Really loved it. But also in June, a game came out that I didn't think I'd ever play, known as Final Fantasy 16. And boy, was I in for a hell of a ride with that game. My workmate recommended it, told me to play the demo. Apparently the demo carries over into the main game if you buy it, and it did. I played through the demo. It was like the prologue of the story, and I was blown away, first of all, by the story, but because I was like so intrigued in finding out what happens next. But secondly, I was blown away by the visuals of this game and how amazing it really looked. Just the textures, the colors, just the way that the characters were designed, and their outfits, and just the landscapes in general blew my mind. It looked beautiful. That game can do no wrong to me. I know a lot of people have their opinions about that game, but I played it, and that was my first ever Final Fantasy game. And I played it with my own sort of like fresh eyes coming into this franchise. And I loved it so much, to the point where I ended up playing this game for about 4 months. I'm a very slow gamer, by the way, if you haven't already. if you don't already know who I am and the way that I game very slowly. I am a very slow gamer. Took me 4 months to get through this whole game, and I was playing it on stream, which is the main reason why it took me so long. And I finished the story, and now I've been going back to a previous save before the final main boss battle of the story, so that I can collect and finalize all of the side quests. So I've been trying to go through and get all the side quests done, which I still need to do, to be honest. I haven't finished the side quests yet. But like I am happy to just run through the game just so that I can do side quests. Like that's how much I want to keep being in this world. And then when they announced that there was going to be DLC for this game, I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, give me more of this game. I need more story. I need more. So I'm glad that we got some DLC. I haven't bought it yet, just because, like I said, I just want to finish off the side quests first. No, I don't think I'll be platinuming this game as much as I love it. I am not going to go through the torture of playing it in Final Fantasy mode, because I'm not really much of a trophy hunter anyway. So, but whatever trophies pop off, I'm happy to get. That's a bonus for me. But if there are games that are, not as difficult to get platinums for, like I played Life is Strange True Colors. I loved it that much that I played it through a second time. But the second time that I played it through, I was actually there to pick up whatever trophies I had missed. So that one wasn't such a bad platinum. That was actually pretty simple. And it was also my first platinum. So I was very happy with that one. But yeah, I'm not going to be platinuming Final Fantasy 16. I mean, maybe later down the track I might, but right now I have got a giant backlog of games that I don't need extra things to hold me back right now. I need to get through my backlog in some shape or form. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, June, Final Fantasy, excellent game. Really loved it. I'll just say it right now. Final Fantasy 16 was my game of the year. It was an amazing game. I loved it so much. What else happened? Oh my gosh. July is my birthday month, of course. But also that particular month, we also had a new convention was announced, and a new convention event was held in July, at the start of July, and that was Metro Comic Con. So yeah, I went to Metro Comic Con. I got to go around for the whole weekend, which was good. I really enjoyed that. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my phone for a second because I'm trying to find the things that I did in July. Oh yeah, that's right. So when I did go to Metro Comic Con actually announced that certain guests were going to be coming down to Melbourne, and a couple of them were actors from the show Lucifer, which I was very excited for. Very, very excited for. And yeah, I was just, it was, and names are Tom Ellis and DB Woodside. I'm pretty sure that's his name. They were there for the convention. I was very excited for it. I got photos with them, so I got to meet them. I went to their panels. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. So it was so much fun. I really loved it. And then on the second day, I was there. My workmates came down because they wanted to play in the gaming zone and be part of some of the gaming tournaments. And yeah, it was such a good time. I also bought a comic book from Metro Comic Con. It was the Marvel Moon Knight, the complete collection that I managed to pick up. I haven't read it yet. It's the Lemire Smallwood Belair, who were the authors, the writers, and the illustrators of this particular comic book. I love Moon Knight. I love the show so much that I wanted to learn more. So that's why I ended up getting the comic book. So I was very happy to have that. But yeah, it's July was a good time. I had lots of fun, and and then my birthday happened at the end of the month. And we ended up going out for lunch at the Garden State. It's kind of like a bar restaurant sort of situation. So it was good fun. Really liked it. It was in the city it was in the sort of what we call the city is what North America calls downtown. Because I know there's some of you who are from North America who has no idea what I'm talking about when I just say city. And so the bar was in the city. We had lunch, and then after that, we went down to a gaming bar, which was about a 10-ish minute walk from the Garden State. And yeah, it was really cool. They had gaming themed drinks, which was really fun. And they had their bar sort of painted with murals of different gaming characters. They had arcade machines. They had like old retro consoles set up so that you can play games at your booths. And yeah, it was a great vibe. We had a couple of drinks before heading home afterwards. But yeah, no, July was good fun. And going into, oh my goodness, yeah, going into August. Oh, that's right. See, this is why I need to have my calendar in front of me, because half the time I don't remember what I've done throughout the year. So it's good that the calendar actually helps remind me of what I was able to do, or what I had done actually able to do. Anyway, so in August, I was able to work on a musical, a junior musical to be more specific, and that was Frozen Junior. So I was part of the stage crew. So I was the on-stage crew that helped get set pieces and props onto stage. And yeah, that was I think a 2-week run with a couple of the days that had matinee shows as well, which were on the weekends. And yeah, that was an experience because I'd never worked on a musical production before, and I'd never worked on a theatre production that was this big. So this is community theatre, and which meant that I was just volunteering my services essentially. But I was okay with this because it meant that I was actually gaining some new skills and, networking with other people, being able to find other avenues into other jobs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, ended up working on Frozen Junior, the musical, in August. And then in September, I ended up working, I think it was September? Yeah, it was September. I ended up working on another musical because someone who was working with us as part of the stage crew in the Frozen show asked me whether I'd be willing to join them in working on a different show, on a different musical with a different theatre company. And I was like, heck yeah, I'd love to. And I ended up working on another musical show at the end of September, and that was The Wedding Singer. The Wedding Singer, the musical. My gosh, that show has some amazing musical numbers. The songs are so much fun, and especially because it's set in the 80s, the music was amazing. Lots of rock, lots of pop, and just some funny scenes too. And I had never actually seen the Wedding Singer musical before, and I actually never had seen the Frozen musical either. So that they were both firsts for me. So again, I was on stage crew, or what they call roadies, for the Wedding Singer. So, the audience would actually see the people bringing set pieces on, because it's supposed to look like a sitcom and all that sort of stuff when scene changes happen. And that was a lot of fun. I absolutely loved working on The Wedding Singer, and I learnt a lot from that too. Like, timing is key, especially because it's a comedy. So I really enjoyed working with that theatre company, doing that show there in September. So that was my September. I also went to a wedding in September, which was really, surprisingly, I did the Wedding Singer show, but I also went as a guest to a friend's wedding. And that was also a different experience. It was a very low-key wedding. It's, the bride wasn't in her traditional white. She was actually wearing a gorgeous purple, sort of like almost kind of between a pastel purple and a sort of a bright purple kind of a dress with really nice sort of a glitter and all that sort of stuff. Oh my goodness, she was absolutely gorgeous. I loved her I loved her dress. But she also had like a gaming station set up. She had photo booth stations set up. They did they played a game throughout the they themed their wedding around the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, come on. It was so much fun just to be able to go to a wedding that was actually themed around something that I really liked. Their wedding cake was very pop culture inspired. There was a lot of anime and movie references and TV show references, very heavy on the pop culture with the cake. But they also had a gaming station where they had someone come down and set up a couple of TVs with switches, and I played some Mario Kart while I was there. They also had an ice cream van out the back so that you could, after you've had your dinner, which by the way was wood fire pizza from a food truck, which was amazing. After you had your dinner, you could then go out and grab some ice cream from the ice cream man in the van out the back. And it was so nostalgic because I had not been able to get ice cream from an ice cream van like that in years, in many, many years. And it felt so nostalgic for me. And I just enjoyed the moment of having an ice cream, a soft serve ice cream on a cone at a wedding. Never thought I'd be doing that, which was cool. But yeah, then October rolled around. So in October, it was a bit more low key. I actually got to rest from all of the theatre work that I'd done in the last 2 months prior to October. I was also throughout, also just for reference, for the whole time throughout this year, I've also been playing beer league hockey from January up until I'd say October. It's a year-round thing. Beer league here in Australia is year-round, so once the summer season had ended, the winter season began a few weeks later. So kind of by October, we were towards the end of the winter season of beer league. Then I signed up to do summer beer league, but as well, I decided to sign up for summer IHV, which is IHV stands for Ice Hockey Victoria, and they actually run their own more competitive tournament throughout the year. So they have the Winter League, which is the more competitive league is the Winter League. It's a bit more strict in everything. But I signed up to play with a second team in the IHV League over the summer. So I am back with my original team that I had started with when I first started playing hockey, and they are the Melbourne Ice Wolves. So I've been playing with them. Unfortunately, the IHV games are not live streamed. So I can't share any kind of link for anybody to watch them because they don't facilitate the option of live streaming or video recording the games. So unless someone's family member or friend or whatever is there with the camera, unfortunately there's no video evidence of me playing in those particular games. But the beer league hockey is definitely live streamed. So if you go over to youtube.com/IceHQ, you'll be able to find a lot of hockey streams on that channel. Previous games that have already been live streamed, so you'll be able to watch all the VODs if you miss out on the live broadcast. But all the beer league games are definitely live streamed to the Ice HQ YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, you can. There's many different divisions in the beer league as well. So if you don't want to watch anything too amateurish, which is kind of where I'm at, then you'd want to go up into the higher levels, into like the pro stuff. So there is that. So yeah, October was very chill for me. By the end of that month, I also got to attend the Melbourne Collectors Market, which was a just kind of like a convention, just without the convention things. It was essentially just the exhibitors hall. So a lot of people just selling a lot of pop culture related merchandise, like trading cards, video games, people from different sort of clubs, like the 501st Legion was there from Star Wars. There was a Doctor Who group, a Star Trek group, club, I should say, because they're kind of like their own clubs. A lot of people were selling Funko Pops. There was just a lot of different things. There was also a lot of people there who were selling handmade stuff, which was really cool to see. I love seeing, artists go out of their way to create their own stuff to sell, because it's very, very creative of them, and also showcases their skills as well. So I ended up buying a print from an artist. I ended up buying a Wii game. I actually ended up getting an Animal Crossing game on Wii. I've never played an Animal Crossing game beyond Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch. So I found the Wii version of Animal Crossing and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy it. I'm going to see if I can hook up my Wii U and play this game, because I loved Animal Crossing New Horizons. I want to go back and check out some of the ones that I missed out on. I did also, not from the collector's market, I did also buy a secondhand copy of Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS. So I do have that, and I do have to play it still. So I will get around to it. I have also been playing a little bit of Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which was, really cool in its own sort of way. And yeah, the Melbourne Collectors Market was great. I definitely want to go back. I really want to go back to it. So that's when they bring that back again. It'll be really cool to be able to visit it again. And then November rolls around. November was a very busy month. I ended up working on a third and final musical show for the year, and that was Spring Awakening. I'd never heard of Spring Awakening before. This was the first time that I was going to, in some shape or form, find out what the show was about. I found out that it was a very heavy show. There are some comedic elements to it, but it's very heavy on the mental health topics. There was, there's suicidal scenes. There's, there's rape, and there's abuse and all that sort of stuff. Like there's a lot of uncomfortable topics that are performed in this show. And there was also one of the nights that I was working on it, I actually got to head into the audience and watch it, because my role on Spring Awakening was the radio mic tech. So I had to look after the cast members' microphones, and it's the headsets that the cast members wear. Very, very fine, very small microphones, very fidgety microphones, that we had to put onto the cast members and adjusted according to them, and then and then I had to stay out back in the green room monitoring the microphones, essentially, just to make sure that, their battery packs are still, fully charged, and making sure that there's no pops or anything like that with their microphones, or if they're, making sure that they're not sounding too low or too high or anything. So I was essentially at the back monitoring their microphones. So I didn't actually get to see the show for this whole run. I heard the show. I was listening to the show for the whole run. So I knew what was being said, what was being sung. I did not get a chance to see it visually. So I had no visual context of the show until the second last show of the run. I was lucky enough to head into the audience to actually watch the show. And my goodness, when I watched the show that night, I was blown away by the performance itself. These talented actors, most of them being between the ages of 18 and 25, they were amazing. Kudos to them for being so mature about a lot of the topics from this particular show. And the way that they performed it was just stunning. The actual set design was amazing as well. I loved the set. But the musical numbers are what really grabbed me the most. And I loved the songs in this particular show. And a lot of them have been kind of living rent-free in my head. And I'm okay with this. If you haven't heard any of the songs from Spring Awakening, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find the Spring Awakening soundtrack on Spotify or YouTube Music or Apple Music. Please just listen to it. You'll understand what the theme of the show is just from the songs itself. The one thing I will say though, I've actually listened to the soundtrack of Spring Awakening that was performed by the original Broadway cast. I think it was like maybe a decade ago, roughly. I will say the cast members in the show that I worked on, they kind of sound a lot better than the Broadway cast. I'm sorry. Or maybe it was just me because I've been listening to them sing all of the songs throughout the whole run that I loved it more. But, oh man, their singing voices were amazing. The way they performed everything. Oh, I can just gush about this show a lot more than I need to. But I really enjoyed being part of that show as well. And being in a different role instead of being on stage doing anything for the set, which for this particular show didn't really need any stagehands. So I was, looking after microphones, and that was a different experience for me. And I learnt a lot from that as well. The fact that I also do I do podcasting, so I know what to expect from listening in on sounds and stuff like that. So my ears were pretty well tuned to do that particular job. But yeah, I learned a lot. I'd definitely be happy to do that again, because it was good fun. Because I also got to bond with the cast members, because where my station was, it was actually in the green room where the cast members were getting ready, and throughout the show they'd be coming in and out and wanting their microphones adjusted and all that sort of stuff. So I got to bond with the cast members, so that we sort of became this, one big little family. So yeah, November was just all about Spring Awakening, and I had a good fun. And then we came into the final month of the year, December. Not a lot happened in December. Let's just put it that way. I was essentially just working. Throughout the whole year as well, I've been going to Japanese school, learning Japanese. I've moved from B1 to B2, which is, the way that they level the classes. So B1 is like absolute beginners, and then you move on from B1 into B2, 3, 4, and so on. Been learning Japanese all year. So I've been going to those classes. I've also been playing hockey as per usual. And then, it was just Christmas period, retail, nightmare. I was still working the same times and days that I have been this whole time, according to my contract. But it was just chaos. And my goodness, I was so tired by the end of that whole period that I was ready to just have a break. I was just ready to break and not worry about it anymore. But yeah, coming into, I think this month, January is still going to be kind of busy, especially with back to school sales starting up in the next couple of weeks. And they'll ramp up until schools actually start opening up, and then it'll most likely keep going a little bit more into February as well for university students. But it's mostly January that's going to be busy for retail, just for back to school. But reflecting over December, it was literally just a month of just work and school and hockey, and that's pretty much it. Throughout the whole rest of the year, I've also been podcasting with my Fred the Alien crew, so Fred the Alien Productions. We've been doing our podcast called Fred Podcast. So if you want to listen to that, you can. It's available on wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm just trying to remember if there's anything else significant throughout the year that I've actually done that I haven't really listed in the calendar, because I know that of course, silly of me, how could I forget? So in September, the NHL Global Series came down to Melbourne. How did I forget this? This was not in my calendar. That's how I forgot. The NHL Global Series was here in Melbourne. The first time that the NHL actually came down to Australia. And my goodness, just for that whole weekend, it was a sellout. You have no idea how big hockey is for us here in Australia. Like, it's not massive like it is in North America, but it is growing, and there is quite a large community of people who either play ice hockey or who are ice hockey fans just from watching games, or NHL fans. There's a lot of us here. And this event literally just made a whole big impression on the NHL. So I feel like the Global Series will probably most likely be coming back down again at some point. But yeah, I was happy to go, even though it wasn't my team that was playing. It was the LA Kings versus the Avalanches, I think. Yeah. The Coyotes, sorry. It was the Arizona Coyotes. So yeah, LA Kings versus the Arizona Coyotes, which was good fun. And yeah, it was like this was my third NHL game that I got to see ever. And it was my third NHL game that I got to see in 2023. Because I got to see 2 NHL games in Canada, one in Vancouver and then one in Toronto. that I was happy to see. And the one that I got to see in Toronto was the game with my team. My team was the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were the away team. They were versing Toronto Maple Leafs. There was like a handful of us Blue Jacket fans in the crowd. It was funny to see a sea of Toronto Maple Leafs, and then you can just pick out like a few of the CBJ fans. Oh my goodness. That was fun. But yeah, the NHL Global Series was here in September, which was really exciting. It was good fun. And I was so glad. Of course, the big event in October was Spider-Wonder. Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder released on the same day. And that was cool. That was a lot of fun. I worked that day as well. The Carpool Gaming crew created a merch design called Spider Wonder with Spider Wonder across the top of the t-shirt, and they had Elephant Mario web slinging, saving the Carpool Gaming mascot Bobby, and I wore it to work. They all loved it, and I was so glad to be wearing it. It was really great. Yeah, what else? I'm just trying to remember what else I've done. I got to go in and see Jimmy Reese perform. For those of you who don't know who Jimmy Reese is an Australian, now comedian, originally a children's TV host, or TV entertainer, I should say. He has his own he's got his own show going around. He does a lot of YouTube content now, and he is just the funniest. Like, he does the funniest things. It's like especially, I think he started it mostly during the lockdowns in 2020, and that's where he blew up. Like, the stuff that he talks about in the ways that he does it is just, it's so funny. And he has multiple different characters that he puts on for these particular videos. And definitely go and check out Jimmy Reese. And if you want to know how to spell Reese, it's R-E-E-S. That's his surname, Jimmy Reese. Highly recommend if you're looking for some fun short videos. He does some amazing stuff. And I think that wraps up my 2023. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up my 2023. I like I said at the start, I didn't realize how much I did throughout the year, and it's kind of why I wanted to sort of lay it out in a more audible form so that it's recorded. And then if I really wanted to come back to this and be like, oh yeah, 2023 was a busy year. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you everybody so much. Just in terms of, I'm just going to say a big thank you for all of your love and support. I know that I didn't really put out a lot of content, like a lot of podcast content through 2023, mostly because of the fact that A, I was a bit busy, and B, I didn't really have the motivation to do more of these episodes. But I'm just gonna put out like a thing here into the universe, and just say that I'm going to do my best to record some more episodes throughout 2024, because I know that there's a lot of you out there who are really interested in what I have to say, which, first of all, why? But secondly, thank you very much for your love and support. I will do my utmost best to bring out some more episodes throughout this year. It may not be consistent, but I will try to at least bring out, an episode a month if I can. So that'll be an intention of mine for this year. I'm going to do my best to at least bring out an episode a month, at least for this year. If I can break out 12 episodes, even 10 episodes, if I can break out 10 episodes, I'll be happy. 12 will mean that you've gotten an episode per month. But if I do more, then so be it. That's a bonus. So yeah, it may not be consistent. It might most likely be a bit more sporadic, but I'm going to do my best to bring you as much of my thoughts out from my brain into this podcast to you. An audible brain dump, essentially. So look forward to more of this throughout the year. If you do have any suggestions for topics for me to talk about, please let me know. If you're in the Discord, in the Foolish Community Discord, then please let me know there. Or, you can also let me know via socials. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Many Thoughts I Have. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can head over to twitch.tv/FoolishFuji for my live streams. And if you want to see some random gaming videos, you can head over to youtube.com/FoolishFuji. I'm also on the socials over on X and Instagram @FoolishFuji. So if you'd like to check me out over there, you can. And yeah, all these links are available in the show notes, so please check it out. And that's it from me. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health, and happy thinking, friends.